Welcome to the darkest corner. Tonight, two true encounters that prove that everything hidden in the dark is not human. Enjoy. Please like and subscribe for more content like this.
I bought a haunted house without knowing it. Now I can't leave. I always dreamed of owning my own home, somewhere quiet, peaceful, a place where I could finally feel safe after years of apartment living. So when I found an old Victorian house listed at an unbelievable price, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. It was on the edge of a small town called Briar Hollow, a place that looked like it hadn't changed since the 1950s. Quaint streets, friendly neighbors, and a thick wall of forest on every side. The house sat alone at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by trees so tall they blocked out half the sky. The listing said, "Needs a little work." That should have been my first red flag. When I met the real estate agent, she avoided eye contact the entire time. She called it the Holloway House and kept mentioning how lucky I was that it was still available. I remember asking, "Why did the last owners move out so suddenly?" She smiled, but her eyes didn't. "They just didn't like the atmosphere," she said, turning away. I laughed it off, thinking she meant the isolation or maybe the musty smell. But when I walked through the front door, I noticed something off right away. The air was cold, not drafty cold, but bone deep. And it smelled faintly like wet dirt and iron. The walls were covered in old, peeling wallpaper. The floorboards creaked with every step. But still, I was in love with the place. I signed the papers that night. The first night, I slept on an air mattress in the living room. I kept the fireplace going to stay warm, and the crackling wood helped me relax. Until, around 3 a.m., I woke up because I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate, pacing from one end of the hallway to the other. I froze, listening. No one should have been up there. I grabbed my flashlight, went upstairs, and checked every room. Nothing, not even a rat. But when I came back down, the fire had gone out, completely. And the ashes were scattered across the floor like someone had dragged their fingers through them. I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe the wind got in. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. The next day, I started cleaning the house. Everything was covered in dust, but as I worked, I noticed something strange. The basement door was nailed shut. Not locked, nailed. At least 6 thick nails across the frame, like someone wanted to keep something inside. Of course, curiosity got the best of me. I pried the nails out with a crowbar and opened the door. The smell hit me first, damp wood and decay. The basement was pitch black, so I pointed my flashlight down the stairs. The beam landed on something that made my stomach turn. Carvings. Hundreds of symbols etched into the wooden beams. Circles, crosses, and what looked like names scratched into the wall. Some were smeared with what looked like dried rust, or maybe something else. I decided to close the door and leave the cleanup for later. That night, I dreamed about it. Except in the dream, the carvings were glowing, and something was whispering my name from the dark. Days passed. I tried to keep busy fixing things, painting, patching holes, replacing bulbs. But things kept happening. Tools went missing. Lights flickered constantly. And at night, I'd hear whispering. Soft, broken words that seemed to come from inside the walls. One morning, I found muddy footprints leading from the basement door to my bedroom. Bare footprints, small, like a child's. That's when I called the realtor again. No answer. I drove back to her office in town. The place was empty. A "for lease" sign hung in the window. I asked the shopkeeper next door what happened to her. He looked at me like I'd said something crazy. "She died years ago," he said. "Car accident. Out by the Holloway house." My heart dropped. I just talked to her 2 weeks ago. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the house made me jump. So I decided to sit in the living room with the TV on low just for background noise. But the signal kept cutting out. Static. Then flashes of faces, distorted, screaming faces, for a split second before the screen went black. When I got up to unplug it, I noticed something strange. The wallpaper behind the TV looked uneven, like it was covering a doorway. I tore the paper away and found a narrow wooden door, nailed shut just like the basement had been. I pried it open. Inside was a small, hidden room, no bigger than a closet. Inside, there was an old rocking chair, a porcelain doll sitting in it, and hundreds of photographs pinned to the walls. All of people standing in front of this same house, smiling. Different decades, different owners, and in every single photo, standing in the window behind them, was a shadow. After that night, things escalated fast. Doors slammed by themselves. I'd wake up with scratches on my arms. My name would appear written in condensation on the mirrors. I tried to leave, I swear I did. But every time I reached the end of the gravel road, the engine would stall. When I walked back to the house, the front door would already be open, like it was waiting for me. I even tried calling for help, but no one ever answered. My phone showed no signal, no matter how close I was to town. It's like the house didn't want me to leave. A few nights ago, I finally worked up the courage to go back into the basement. I needed to know what was behind those carvings. I started tearing down one of the wooden beams and found something buried inside the wall. A book, old and blackened by mold. When I opened it, I realized it wasn't a book at all. It was a ledger. Each page listed names and dates, all of them marked with the same final word, claimed. The last name in the book was mine. If anyone hears this, if somehow this recording makes it out, don't come looking for me. Don't visit the Holloway house. It doesn't want new owners.
Welcome.
It just wants you to move in. There were lights in my backyard last night, and they weren't stars. I live way out in the country. Closest neighbor is about a mile away. At night, it gets so dark that you can't even see your hand in front of your face. I used to love that kind of quiet. The kind that only exists far from the city. But after last night, I don't think I'll ever look at the night sky the same way again. It started around 10:30 p.m. I was sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee, just enjoying the stillness. The stars were clear that night, millions of them, bright enough to cast shadows. Then I noticed something strange. There was a light hovering above the tree line, not like a plane or a helicopter. It was still. At first I thought maybe it was a drone, but it didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there, bright, white, and silent. After a few minutes, another light appeared next to it, then a third. Then they started spinning. I grabbed my phone to record, but the moment I hit record, the screen froze, completely locked up. That's when I started hearing this sound, low, deep, like a hum inside my skull. Not loud, but enough to make my teeth ache. I stood up, staring at the lights as they moved together, forming a triangle. And then, they shot straight up into the sky so fast I barely had time to blink. I was about to go inside when I noticed something. The crickets had stopped chirping. The air went dead silent. That kind of silence only happens before a storm, or when something's wrong. I went inside, locked the door, and tried to shake it off. But as soon as I sat down, the lights in my house flickered. Once, twice, then everything went out. I grabbed my flashlight and went to check the breaker. That's when I noticed it, through the kitchen window. The same white lights were back, but now they were in my backyard, floating just above the ground. 3 orbs of light, perfectly still. No sound, no heat. Just this faint electrical buzz that made the hairs on my arms stand up. I stepped outside, shining my flashlight toward them. The beam cut through the dark, but it barely touched the lights, like they absorbed it. Then one of them started to move, slowly, toward me. It glided, not like something flying, but like it was sliding through the air. The other 2 followed, perfectly in sync. I felt this pressure in my ears, like being underwater. My flashlight started flickering. And then I saw it, something inside the light. A shape. A tall, thin outline, barely visible, standing just behind the glow. When I blinked, it was suddenly closer. Then closer again, like it wasn't walking, just appearing a few feet nearer every time my eyes moved. I don't remember what happened next. One second I was standing in my backyard. The next I was waking up on the porch. The sky was lighter, maybe around dawn. My coffee cup was knocked over. My phone was still on the railing, screen black and dead. When I looked at the time, I realized it was 5:42 a.m. 7 hours, gone. I checked my clothes. My boots were muddy, my jacket smelled like ozone. And there were these small circular marks burned into the grass where the lights had been. Perfect circles. 3 of them. That was 2 nights ago. Since then, my phone battery drains to 0 within minutes no matter how much I charge it. The power in my house flickers randomly. And at night, when I try to sleep, I swear I can still hear that low humming sound. Sometimes I wake up with my windows open, even though I know I locked them. And last night, when I looked outside, I saw it again. One light, hovering in the distance. Waiting. I don't think they're done with me.